Tashitele to all the Dharma friends joining us on the live stream.
Tani Dachati song, to kiss all of them, Nasamadam, Keras, what Langori, Nangor, Metangati, Tonga Dai Jews, theatre Rinpoche, this one million, Trita, Hanima, Nangor Metangati, Tonga Dai Jews, this Uncle Ningdangati, the Jesus of the Jews, on the means of the church, did the answer on Yamyong Tolan, to a do. Literally, to want to see some young to go watch somebody, one board of the choir, Jibago, some society to kiss a go to Sanam last of the Jawata Jibaga, some such a jocolo, Mount Jocolo, J to Jocolo, also some Jesus with Jackie, the theatre, the Satani, Metropati, one day, Nasamate. Chora tanto sulla tua giatti vogliore te cambi di stata te andiamo un po' di chora no te state già segnalsi bale te ma porta sa porto c'è te di ore te un po' la chora di pargu te della di vaiami je sono tutti su che di la somare te chora di bati che salino te cavolore ti sui rumori Continue.
Today we are receiving the empowerment of the Buddha Akshobyia, and it is also in general people have a lot of trust and faith in the secret mantra teachings. That's why we have empowerment. And so there are the new and the old tantras. And what's the difference between the new and the old tantras? So this belonging now to new ones, but what's really the difference? So actually, or the old one. So there is an outer, inner, and a secret cycle in terms of practice. So the outer cycle is the physical, the cycle of the body, and on external conventions and elaborate practices. So there's the various elaborate ritualistic activities and so on. And then the inner cycle, and so sorry, the first one belongs, the outer one is mainly also the one that the new tantric system deals with. And then the inner cycle is like the eyes of someone. So that is it's called the Dharma that is seen through signs. So the first one is like more like the limbs of the body. The second one is like the eyes. And so in the inner cycle of teachings, the Dharma is further condensed into its essence. And then there's the secret cycle, which is like the heart. And so here the essence is further condensed down into the quintessence. So it's over and over again, the practice is condensed. So we come to its very refined essence. And the way it becomes condensed is through experience. So as one attains experience in the practice, the practice becomes more and more condensed. But then Jigten Somgen also said in the Gongchik that for those of higher mental capacity, the rituals should be elaborate. So there's also something to be said about having an elaborate ritual for someone of higher capacity. So on the outer level, it is then still necessary to perform very elaborate, great accomplishment practices and so on. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he gives the Kala Chakra, the great Kala Chakra empowerment, he explains the Kala Chakra as being of an outer, an inner, and an other aspect of Kala Chakra. So there's many different levels. And so now for the Akshobyia empowerment, that according to the secret mantra, generally possesses a very vast and extensive ritual, actually. But then today's empowerment is actually more concise, and was written down by Chamgyung Kongtrul Rinpoche, and it was written from the perspective of like a continuous practice, for like basically from a practical perspective, not just from a vast ritualistic perspective. And so this particular empowerment belongs of those three cycles to the inner and the secret one. So as Jigten Somgen had said, those of higher mental capacity require often a elaborate empowerment, but also the other side of the spectrum. So either it's very elaborate or it's very concise. A very elaborate ritual would take for a very long time. So there's a very elaborate ritual also to this one. But this particular empowerment is very condensed, written down by Chamgyung Kongtrul Rinpoche. And so generally myself, I have received an Akshobyia empowerment many times. And I don't even remember each of those circumstances now, but in which a ritual and they all belong to. But in any case, all the deities really are the same. And so, Dharma friends, this is the empowerment I'm offering to you today.
다시 가래나 다시 초가가 되라서 진dum이가 그도 뭐요 세자 대상 차병을 마삼이 비진이에 이제 그러는 로지 때문에 인지 토리 살로서 뒤지서들이 나게 영영적이.
And So first, we will begin with the historical background of the empowerment. In general, that the history is widely spread in Tibet because there is a tradition of continuously reciting various rituals and sadhanas. People are familiar with it, but it's not so widely spread in the Western countries. So whether it is the new or the old tantric system. So in any case, we're going to read the history in English, and then I'm going to start with the empowerment. So the history of the empowerment. It is called the Moonlight Dispelling Darkness, the empowerment of the Bhagavan, the protector Akshobyia, from the Vajra essence. In general, there are three ways in which all Buddhas are essentially equal. Equal in their accumulation of merit, equal in having attained the Dharmakaya, and equal in acting for the benefit of others. However, the different aspirations they make when first arousing bodhicitta result in diverse manifestations of enlightened activities. The Bhagavan Akshobyia the Bhagavan Akshobia's arousing of bodhicitta was miraculous and extraordinary. Since his aspirations, such as the 8 great aspirations and the 7 perseverance wishes, were all accomplished, he surpasses all the other Buddhas. He dwells within the joyous Eastern Pure Land, happily teaching the Dharma there. All the Buddhas of the 10 directions in their different Pure Lands, including our teacher Shakyamuni, praised Akshobia's life story. In particular, merely wearing the Dharani mantra of this protector, Akshobyia will break the continuum of all karmic obscuration accumulated since beginningless times. He is superior because he performs activities to accomplish enormous temporary and ultimate benefits. For example, no Mara and demonic god will ever be able to cause a hindrance. In the Dharani Sutra, it says, when this Dharani is recited, the entire series of one's past karmas will be completely purified. When recited throughout the 3 times, even the 5 inexpiable sins will be cleansed. If one recites it only once, everything inauspicious, ill omens, and bad dreams will disappear. If someone overcome by compassion were to recite this Dharani into the ears of an animal, a bird, a human, or a non-human, at the time of their death, they will not take birth in the lower realms. When even one has had committed the 5 inexpiable sins, or one who had abandoned the holy Dharma, or one who had abused a noble one, saw this Dharani written on a wall at the time of one's death, all one's karmic obscurations would be exhausted. How much more so would this be for one who would recite or repeat it? The Tathagata Akshobyia, having appeared to just that one, would moreover say, O child of noble family, come here to me. If one carries it on one's person, or if having written it in a book and tying it around one's neck, one wears it, for him ultimately death would never occur. If the various sadhanas related to this Dharani, which is praised widely as supreme, of the various sadhanas, this particular sadhana traces back to the oral instructions of the second Buddha, Padmasambhava. It was hidden as a profound dharma and later revealed by the great Nirmanakaya, the Dertun Jangchu Gyamten, from the Vajra essence of the clear expanse cycle.
요리 custom 시가 대이송 세분 내록들들이 실적인 자송만 와 대능지 렉나지 렉나르들 찍거든 타톡들이라는 게 또 컨데이가 심적으로도 돈다고 되면 정말 이때 답을 사든지 저는 내록도 하나들이 주당 사무 그좀 하시는 자가서 말이 내록도 성들이 사탐체지 거는 또 다사 공지 같아요. 제가 그 sendesig는 내록te 이전이 세기 상태를 오페 그때 로버트만 나오는 거지 저거래 그 나오는 거도 봐서는 맞춰봐 괜찮아 저 생각하는 문제들이 맞춰봤다 촉지 맞춰봐 이래라 기적이 제담 나중에 왔지네 대직전 대식지고 하면 많이 말이 들이 마상을 주니 산지 장나라니 자서 각각 말이 이래는 또 로버트한테 처음 따서 차들이 대답을 시도하고는 들사가를 보나 항상 로버트한테 심지어 피고 뭐 특히 제사다는 되게 나오다 봐도 바짝만 쏘서는 그 센터들이 여기 거다 홍지는 홍홍들이 제가까지 대식이 못 하는데 소들들이 별날 저색 장소로 선바다를 차지하래. 또 심지고 그래서 아까리 보면 심지되면 맨 처음에 잡지는 요래 다음 갑자기 잡지는 너도 내기요래. 심지 받으면 처음 되셔대. 나그 쳐봐대 잡지는 계속 잡도 이면 차도래. 심지 받을 소리 왕카리잖아요. 이제 이렇게 좋은 거요 말이 디디셔인데. 이게 다 나온 거들이
And so also, for example, in the past, since this empowerment now speaks about the benefits of the Akshobyia, the Rani, also His Holiness the Karmapa, for example, taught on the benefits of the Akshobyia, the Rani, and also gave instructions and transmissions very extensively. And so Akshobyia is, in essence, it is said, one with the like the wrathful aspect of chakra samvara. And generally speaking, all the Buddhas belong to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, the 5 Buddha families. So to one kind of Buddha family. So the Buddha Akshobyia of the 4 directions belongs to the eastern direction, and of the 5 elements, he is associated with the water element, and the female counterpart is the Kini Mama Kim, in essence, the water element. And of the afflictive emotions, the principal affliction associated with Akshobyia is anger or hatred. And he really is a manifestation of chakra samvara. And so what is his true nature? Actually, all the Buddhas of the 5 Buddha families ultimately come down to one single family, one single nature. And that is Buddha nature, one's own Buddha nature. And that nature inherently has the quality of the 3 kayas and the 5 wisdoms. Buddha nature is just like a crystal, and when the sun shines on the crystal, then 5 colored rainbow lights emerge from it, all being part of the crystal. So similarly, from this one nature, 5 kinds of Buddhas appear, different Buddhas appear. Samsara and nirvana appear. It all arises from the mind only. One realizes that when one sees the ultimate truth, and that's the nature of all the deities. So when one realizes the nature of the mind, Longchen Rabjam had said, when you realize the nature of mind, there is no higher learning than that. So regarding deity meditation, deity practice, the deity in essential nature is your own Buddha nature, dwelling as the inherent nature of all sentient beings. It is the fundamental nature of all sentient beings. So that is what beings really are. And beings are just obscured by adventitious stains, which is the grasping to a self, the thought of a self. And when that is cleared away, then all beings are actually the Buddha. whatever you think of, that is what the mind becomes. So when you think of Akshobyia, then that is what your mind becomes in that moment, especially if that is sealed by compassion. Because when you start out with compassion, first self-grasping goes away. And so actually, ultimately, the Buddha Akshobyia does not exist beyond your own Buddha nature. In the new tantric system, it is said in one tantra that you yourself are the deity and the deity is yourself. So you're not separate from the deity. You and the deity are just like clean or polluted water, but it's still water. There's just a temporary defilement in our mind. And so when you meditate on the deity, you practice the deity, begin with cultivating a wish to benefit all sentient beings. So bring compassion to mind. That will clear away this thought of me first. And then visualize the main seed syllable, which is the syllable Hong, which also in essence is Buddha nature. And so it is just like when you practice in this way, it is just like you are pouring water into an ocean. Then you just merge one with the ocean. That is practice in this way, meaning when you base your practice on the motivation of bodhicitta, whatever deity you practice. Otherwise, if you do not cultivate bodhicitta in the beginning, then it is just like you are throwing an ice block into the ocean, and then it will just stay there floating on the ocean, and it won't actually merge with the ocean. So the mind is just like that, like it is like water. And when you cultivate bodhicitta, then the mind is more like rain falling down, instantly merging non-dually with the deity. So whatever empowerment you receive in the beginning, the motivation of bodhicitta is really most important. So I'm going to keep the instructions brief today because there's not so much time. And I will start now with the empowerment.
하장동 치고 싸워요래 대외들이 로마스지 지도 정치에 되면라 야열대 되면라서 안슈
The root of the suffering of all sentient beings is self-grasping, and an antidote to self-grasping is to offer a mandala. And there is an outer, inner, and a secret mandala offering. And so today we are going to recite the mandala offering that was taken from Milarepa's Guru Yoga, which is also available online. And it's because this particular mandala offering is very clear in its meaning. And it really clarified the meaning to the disciple to really understand the meaning of the mandala. So we're going to recite that, which is, if you have the yellow prayer book, it's on page 7. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping. Completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Devandakini Ratna Mandala Pradita Soha.
왕강처럼 제가 뭐라더니 속지상지에 담지나 나가다가 뭐 뜻바거든이 라마다가 예면시거든 나 바로 기분도 봐야 돼 이제 탐색관계 탐오리 탐색지 봐야 돼 탐자야 탐자간 신기를 도도 상계에서 봐서 그 탐자들 들이 배운 거는 무슨 중요해서 대소와 답변이 다 되는 게 요사 왕문이 드리쇼요사 생각을 없다고 그래.
And so when you receive the empowerment, and that is when you receive any empowerment really, you should always think that all the Buddhas of the 10 directions appear like gathering clouds, and the principal Buddha of the empowerment, and think of those Buddhas as inseparable, the principal Buddha as being inseparable from, essentially from your root guru. So think that all these Buddhas appear like gathering clouds in the sky, and the Buddhas appear following their previous samaya. So in the past, in the beginning, they made a commitment. And what was their commitment? They vowed to attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And so therefore, following that commitment, they are coming, following our supplication. So you should think that during an empowerment that these Buddhas are actually present. And when you repeat the supplications, think that now I am taking this commitment in the presence of these Buddhas. And now I'm really receiving the empowerment from these Buddhas in space. So actually me, the one who is conferring the empowerment, I'm more like the translator of these Buddhas in space.
Ema Lama Jarve Tolonta.
Please repeat.
Sangye Kunji Jenkorzo.
Sangye Gungi Ginkonzo.
Dala Gombo Manchokbe.
Dala Gombo Metokbe.
Wam Chodamba Sardoso.
Wam Chodamba Sardoso. Then in English. The mandalas of all Buddhas are complete within the space expanse of your enlightened mind. O Guru, please grant me the supreme and sacred empowerment of the protector Akshobyia.
대리봉 까빠상은 하고 왕도나 이제 제소자다라 대리봉 까빠상은 하고 왕도나 이제 제소자다라 다 septi 가리고 그래야지 참 랍사소 무슨 방도 나지 이게 계속되다 이게 계속 로사소
팅은라 제대로 제거 말해.
네 좋아해 아 좋아라
그래서 야드래.
다 땅거 제대로 줘요라 나 이게 계속되다 보다 생기도 다 요소
띵가 다른 거. tar ngala masan tar. Kare. Jiba kare. 그래서 제가 당에 갈.
저 당에 싸놓고 가리도 버리든 무슨 왕셔 싸놓고 가리도 버리지 이게 계속되달라.
So it seems that there is a question in empowerment. So when you receive the Akshobyia empowerment, what is the intention? What is your intention to have?
이게 계속 다니 왕 참마지 말이가 이게 계속 사족대 셈지바데 자서 로아데 고초섬에 농데 사지를 농종물에 자서 로아 사지 로공도 자서 종에 셈지바데 사지를 초 자서 로고 셈지고를 이동데 셈지고 동데 들사지 왕 담색해리입니다디 지지나 가자요 Garchen 잡다든 바세 로ponshune 공수설 상접전부 철동바 공보전부 다찰로 담책대니 달라tor 상촉sem장 달라tor 상계 주당 견든세 잡슴 다장 달라tor 타바신부 좀 줘도 무부당의 요소 이번 잘
And so before this repetition, Rinpoche said that in general, all the empowerments are really the same. The thing that the intention that has to come to mind, obviously, is bodhicitta, is the wish to benefit beings. And that has to arise as we take refuge in the three jewels. So our main refuge, when we take refuge, is the Buddha whom we see as our teacher. And then when we take refuge, we also have to cultivate a motivation of bodhicitta, a wish to benefit others, which will also then come later during the Samaya. So anyways, now please repeat the following. Great joyful one, my teacher, master, please consider me. I prostrate to the great protector who demonstrates the truth of great awakening. Please grant me Samaya. Endow me with the mind of awakening and impart the three refuges of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Protect them. Let me enter the sacred home of highest liberation.
타바시도 탈되는 강에 탈거리들 선대적 정보도 아마 산지에 다디 당윤부에 차공차성체 장을 중에 탈리 자투체도 적과 차거래 차동도 자투를 템거래 탈들 때 차로 자투를 다 탈성하래지 대회를 때니 차로 때 다디 잡으래 사속세도 조잡으래 너는 다디도 자수 세비 이제는 사제래 대하고는 고하잖아 만 전에 사제래 나 나오는 거지 담도 제 가르치고 제 지피를 놓칠 때 나오는 거 답지도 말이 제가 시선 왕 탐지가 싸웠대
So we said this sacred home of highest liberation, so this great state of liberation. What does it mean? What does it mean to be liberated? It means to realize your Buddha nature, which is actually Buddha. Just temporarily, we are not liberated because of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions, which are like ice blocks. So it is just the fault of having frozen into an ice block due to cold water. So the ice block needs to melt and merge to be one with the ocean water. And once it has melted and has become one with the ocean water, that is what we call having attained liberation. So self-grasping is like ice, and bodhicitta is like the warmth that melts the ice. When you separate from self-grasping, then at the basis, your fundamental nature without self-grasping is Buddha, and that's the nature of all sentient beings. So once you understand that, you know that I am primordially, actually, I am the Buddha primordially. It is just right now I'm tied down by thinking that an I exists. So what can I do about it? I have to cultivate an altruistic mind. Then there is no thought of an I. If you understand this essential point, then you have understood the root of all empowerments. Just repeat. So somla. Dakyapchi. Dekpa meki. So sha. Rover gela. Jirang. Sangye sangcho. Yiki song. Sangye chudang. Tongchola. Changcho bardo. Japsun che. Rangjin dongni. Rab sir. Sangchok semde. Jibar ye. Sangchok choge. Semne jijine. Semjin samje. Dakan dongda ye. Sangchok jongcho. Yong jebaje. Rora pinser. I take refuge in the three jewels and confess all evil and non-virtuous deeds. I rejoice in the virtues of beings, and I will hold the Buddha's awakening in mind until attaining awakening. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself. I give rise to bodhicitta, having given rise to the mind of supreme awakening. I welcome all beings. I will practice the supreme bodhisattva conduct that is pleasing to all. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
nam so so jen cha do je zhe mo de de ba lo de yo bu ne sam zhe sam jian chen ba shu bu de de ge ne su ga ne ja de ba de me zhe ya dong wo ge wei xiang ni yi xi ba ba de me ba cha ba ba da su ne na chen ba me xie等于做什么？有红工就这样的，就是比较常见的，有红工的可以，大一你去讲嘛。大一你看要嘛，这山东我一错了，人的这红工，等于这两块的这啥就没说过个，这去我这了，咱们朝阳干什么？咱去，你毕竟要他们从咱们这里，这个我儿子。
So for the visualization, you should mainly visualize the Hung syllable, which is the essence of all the Buddhas of the 3 times mind. And what happens when you visualize the Hung is that there is no thought of a self. There is no dualistic thought of self or other when you meditate on the Hung. And therefore, when you meditate on the Hung, you come to the fundamental empty nature of your mind. So therefore, meditate on the Hung and also think that in the space in front of you is the Buddha Akshobyia, and think that many forms of Buddha Akshobyia descend down, some as large as mountains and some as small as mustard seeds, and think that all of these forms dissolve into the entire universe and all sentient beings.
我们走上弥达萨这红香哪里家呀这谁嘛把这一上中嘛，特别把这没有没点把这个的，点把就地上没有的，地上没有的啊，这一些我把这是不是那路去把它变了？这那路刚刚那点了这。谁是把它弄那个社会内容，我就把查的也哪块知道找我大概，这就是真是马上把这个切在这里，大概有来的，罗生我嘛这上底下可能让同们从真是有没切把嘛都，甚至是有可能大概有来，这都上过来。
And so this was the descent of the wisdom beings. And all those of you who know the nature of the mind know that these wisdom beings and the essential nature of your own inner mind are one and the same. It is just like the sky and the clouds. And the wisdom beings are always actually with you. So there is no decline, there is no coming and no going. They are always continuously there as the essence of your own awareness. It is just, there seems to be an absence and presence depending on whether or not we are mindful of the wisdom being. But actually, the wisdom being really is your own Buddha nature.
가사 레기 거라더니 뭐가 레기더니 바바상 저왕들이 광대로 온 거래.
During the conference of the empowerment, think that there are limitless forms of Akshobyia, all each holding an empowerment vase in their hands, appear in the sky in space. And so think that above the crowns of each and every sentient being, there is Buddha Akshobyia holding an empowerment vase like this, filled with the empowerment nectar, the vase nectar, and they all receive the empowerment.
Gaya Bekenza, Beda, Samisa, Gaya Bekenza, Masatamisa, Gaya Bekenza, Beda, Samisa, Gaya Bekenza, Gaya Bekenza, Beda, Samita Satra, Gaya Bekenza, the Babang top, Babang top, rigid about that. Not on Laco,
You have received the vase empowerment of form. The obscurations of your body are purified, and you are empowered to visualize the appearing yet empty form of the deity.
你把送啊，你把杭州送过完过了，就过个来，你把那哈家成了送的，电成当也没把，其他们那么他妈这那个啥到这里，俺就成了一个这这是俺成了对面这宁波的办的这。Ombeda Samita Sata Home, Benda Samita Sata Home, did what they do. Take my Meda Samita Sata Home, did not the battery. Then remove took a song. They can do a chapa palm the young. Not did you say back after the you just a little younger in Gatari, Hogatality. Coffee sang, then he Ragatani, the Tangsong sang, then Nagaranda, Daranda, that one, it was not little.
And I think that from space, myriad forms of the deity and mantra syllables and mantra garlands and seed syllables of deities and so on all fall down like rain falling down. And the essence mantra of this Dharani, which you probably might not have heard of before, is Om Benta Samanda Satu Hong. And so I think that now from space, this rain shower of this Akshobyia mantra, the mantra syllables falls down. And as you repeat the mantra, think that these mantra syllables, these garlands of mantra, then enter you and go into your heart, and then begin to circle around the Hung syllable at your heart. And then also fill up your entire body, all the channels and the chakras in your body. And so then think that in this way, having pervaded your entire body, your whole being reverberates with the natural sound of the mantra. So think in this way when you repeat the Akshobyia mantra.
Om Beda Samita Sata Hong. Om Beda Samita Sata Hong. Om Beda Samita Sata Hong. Namo Rinata Ya Ya. Gang Rotan. 조전을 자산을 자띠 하나 사와 까마 빠람빠라 너의 사와 사도 내다 소하 사면다다로 리더 잡아시가 됐다. 나를 린다위 상태 양탄이 바차지 특바특바는 이거요래. 제가 그때 양도 되게 뒤바차지 파스. somos 나가 바차 나도 비디지 바차도 또 메타도 책 설치 니보들 나가는 다시 애들 뭐지가 되지 컨트롤한 거 책을 좋아지와 대자 나디 바차리 대들이 나르디 나디 바차 직접 용만 대책도 못하게 책상에 탕제된 나를 달아 동선은 그냥 자기 바차지 파청도요래 이제 거의 왕을 느끼다 봤다 네가 박차지 다 로요래.
So what are these obscurations of the body and of the speech? So the obscuration of the body is that you identify with your body. You look at your body and you think that's me. And that's a very strong habit that you have accustomed yourself to over and over again. And so that's why it's like many kind of drops have accumulated, and it's a powerful imprint. And that's why it naturally arises. And so when you visualize yourself as the deity, this is what destroys this imprint. It breaks through this ordinary imprint. And for the speech, the imprint of the speech or the obscuration of the speech is those thoughts that conflate one's inner thoughts about the outer object. The inner thoughts and the outer object become conflated. So it's basically we interpret outer objects in our own way. Outer things that we hear. And so that's how we grasp at speech. For example, what that means is when somebody says something nice to you, then immediately you understand it in a certain way and you're very happy about that. And if somebody offends you just a little bit, then immediately you get really upset, angry about it. So this imprint, of this speech imprint that conflates one's own ideas and the outer sound heard, basically is the feeling that arises based on sounds that we hear. And when you recite the deity's mantra, then these imprints are destroyed. So you break through these imprints through the mantra recitation. And eventually, as a result, whatever you hear, pleasant or unpleasant, all the words spoken by others, they will be heard as mantra. You hear them as mantra. And with from a physical perspective, you see all appearances as appearing yet empty. So when you visualize your body as the deity, that purifies the ordinary appearance or perception of the body. And then through the mantra recitation, you purify the ordinary imprints of the speech.
Dùng đi còn bên hàng số về đấy là chúng ta để cái đi vào lão quan cái trung央số lượng à để打所以他觉得中华人人中华的送个第一点那可能中华这里中华的那中华人上中华的还是咋就不说为总这里那等进中华啦等
And so all the mantra dissolves into your mala. And that's why also we say often that wearing the mala, so it touches you. So wearing the mala is very important and very precious, because whatever mantra you practice, the mala is charged with this mantra. So it's very powerful and very, very precious. So you always think that whatever mantra you practice charges or is absorbed into your mala. And so this was the speech empowerment. So you have received the mantra empowerment of speech. The obscurations of your speech are purified and you are empowered to recite the heard yet empty mantra. And now third is the implement empowerment of mind. And you visualize from the Bhagavan's heart emerges a blue 5-pronged wisdom vajra, which dissolves into your heart. So this Hong, also this Vajra, is an example of your mind. It represents your mind. So its essence is Hong. And this Vajra is an example of mind in the fundamental nature, which is clear and empty, just like a crystal, possessing the qualities of the 3 kayas and the 5 wisdoms and the 5 activities and so on. So, for example, there are many different explanations on the 5 aggregates and how they each relate to the 5 activities and so on. But basically, these are just like rainbow lights emerging from a single crystal. And that single crystal is like this Vajra. And the essence of this Vajra is Hong. So the ultimate Vajra is Hong. And the meaning of the Hong or the Vajra is that in the beginning it is unborn, and then also it is indestructible, it is unceasing. And when you meditate on the Hong Vajra, then there is no thought of a self. And that's why I always tell my disciples, visualize the Hong syllable. That's why we print it on T-shirts and so forth, because it's important to remember the Hong as much as you can. If you remember the Hong over and over again, then all there is in your mind is just Hong. And so the essence of Hong is the mind of all the Buddhas. Externally, the Buddhas may appear as Buddhas, but their inner mind is Hong. And what happens when you meditate on the Hong? How are you then a Buddha when you meditate on the Hong? It is because then there is no thought of self and other. And when there is no such a thought, then the mind just naturally abides like space in its natural state. That's why we say we can be awakened in just an instant, in one instant. So when you understand this crucial point, you may recognize the true nature of your mind. And so the representation of this true nature is the Vajra, whose essence is the Hong.
You took something to one toe, each of Mata, Satum Yishi, Gumbala, Yano, Satum, Samasata, or so don't dinner. To count it, the Bakan, Nampa, the same problem, Nampa, so said your so don't you want the same memory. Certainly, Tamadi, Tagi Tavati, the Tapatali was Toma, 7 times of Sawa, Saton so doctor, they basically they can somebody childhood. They Saton is a gone delivery. They watch him, 100 never they watch. They Saji community, the same actually. Then look at him into the Matabaret, only separate, sent to the Saton Gone. They did have some more tongue, then Yamiki Matamjega, don't let them say, when they look the hungry.
So then it says, you have received the implement empowerment of mind, the obscurations of your mind are purified, and you are empowered to cultivate the clear and empty primordial wisdom. So clear and empty, the clear and empty mind. You see it when you look at your mind, because that's what your mind is. It is clear and empty. Clear is your awareness, and the emptiness is that there's not a single grasping thought in the mind. And when there is not a single thought in your mind, the mind naturally abides like empty space. So the mind is given this name. It's called clear and empty. That's the quality of the mind. And it is clear and empty. The clarity and empty qualities of the mind dispel all mistaken views, all extreme views of eternalism and nihilism. The extreme view of eternalism is dispelled through the empty nature of the mind, and the extreme view of nihilism is dispelled through the clarity aspect of the mind. And emptiness and clarity are a unified state. So they're not separate. And externally, they appear, for example, as Samantabhadra, Yap, and Yum. So this clear and empty mind, when that is realized, you experience a state of great bliss. And this bliss is true bliss and unchanging bliss. It is the actual state of awakening that occurs in any given moment, in just an instant, because it is the nature of your mind. So the mind is most important. And the body and the speech are secondary because they are compounded phenomena and therefore impermanent. The mind is what will continue on, and that is a clear and empty nature, represented by the Hung. So in this way, meditate in this way when you meditate on the Hung. So all of you who engage in actual practice, in brief, just meditate on the Hung. And then the fourth empowerment is called the totally complete empowerment of the sacred image. And so it says from the mandala, deity emerges a second wisdom form, which then dissolves into you. So I think that you think that the Buddha Akshobyia is in the space in front of you, a large form. So you think that Akshobyia is in space, but actually you are inseparable. Your mind is inseparable from Buddha Akshobyia. Because this reflection of Akshobyia in space is your own mind reflecting it. You are visualizing it, you're thinking of it. So it's the empowerment of the reflection, the deity's reflection, which is your own mind's projection, and therefore is an appearance of your own mind, which is clear and empty. So this is represented by the visualization of this reflection that you have mentally generated in space, then dissolves into you, into your mind. And so this is called the empowerment of the sacred image, or the reflection of the deity. And so think that the deity is reflected in space first, in the color of space, and its essence is clarity and emptiness, which is the essence of your mind. And you recognize that it is just a clear reflection of your own mind. And through recognizing that, the deity dissolves back into your mind.
nó là thế trên bắc cấp là thế chắc tắc kia là đã như nhiều mà thế trên thật quang chế ba xong là quang chế thì thôi chứ cái thắt rồi để quang chế ba đấy.
So we think that the Buddha Akshobyia has dissolved into me, into my mind. And so generally, who actually is Akshobyia? So then the name Akshobyia actually explains his nature. Akshobyia in Tibetan is Mitopa, which means the one who cannot be disturbed, the unmovable one or invincible one. And that is the true nature of your mind. The nature of the mind is unborn, unceasing, and unabiding. That's the nature of the mind. That's the nature of Akshobyia. Unceasing, he is indestructible. Nothing can destroy him or disturb him, literally. And so that being the nature of the mind, essentially, then the appearing quality, the manifesting quality of the mind, then appears as the form of the Buddha Akshobyia or any deity you bring to mind. And the essential ground is Buddha nature, and that's the ground of all sentient beings. So that nature is indivisible from Akshobhya's true nature, his mind. We are temporarily obscured by thinking that an I exists. And therefore, to cultivate a wish to benefit others, bodhicitta, then this thought of me will collapse. But the nature of the mind will not collapse. That will not disappear. There will always be this nature that is clear and empty. And that is indivisible from Samantabhadra, Yabyum, or Buddha Akshobyia. They are the true fundamental nature of your mind that you realize when all the obscurations of body, speech, and mind are purified. And of these, the obscurations of the mind are most important. When you purify the obscurations of the mind, then the obscurations of body and speech will naturally become purified. So what does it mean to purify? It means that you eliminate the grasping mind, in particular, the thought of an existing I. That is this temporary adventitious obscuration. So letting go of all grasping, you rest within your natural state without a single thought, not thinking of anything in an affirming or negating way. That is what purifies these mental obscurations. And so there are actually three instances when we come to this naturally purified state where there are no obscurations in the mind. The first is when we engage in sexual intercourse. The second is when we die and the consciousness transfers. Which is also similar to falling asleep, actually. And so we are also introduced to that in the context of channels and winds and so on. And so, for example, with regard to dying and the transference of consciousness and how we come then to the natural state, which we call having successfully performed poa, Milarepa had said that only someone who has attained the path of seeing can really transfer the consciousness or practice poa for someone else who has passed away. And that means the path of seeing. What does it mean having attained the path of seeing? It means that one has realized that self and other do not exist. It has become an experience. And one has also realized that the out of form, the body, is just like a fleeting cloud, lacking any inherent existence. And one realizes that ultimately there is just the consciousness and there is no division between self and other, no delineation between self and other within that mind. And having realized that, that is how they can benefit Bardo consciousness. It is through their realization that then the Bardo consciousness can also understand that self and other do not exist separately. And as a result of that, realizing that, they attain enlightenment in the Dharmakaya. So when the moment you bring to mind the Buddha Akshobyia, this thought of me and I instantly is gone. And in an instant, there is just Akshobyia. There is no concept of self and other. And whenever you think of the Buddha Akshobyia, it is like that. So if you like, you can instantly just have an awareness of Akshobyia in your mind, his body, his form, or you can just meditate on the home. And when you are mindful, then there is no thought of a self. You should really analyze that. In that moment of recollection, when you recollect the Hong or the Buddha Akshobyia, really look at your mind. And you see that there is in this moment really no concept of self and other. So this is what we call this fourth empowerment of the deity's reflection. Oh, and this empowerment is accomplished in a single instant.
rāngi rīja dhīpa tā, ngāga dhīpa tā, yīja dhīpa tā, sō chāna, rāngi sēm dē sāngye rī dōk tā hāku nā, rī tā ngā rā rī bē sōngā dhī, tā rī sāngye mē hī bā rāngi sēngi chējī dhī sō, rāngi sēngi sāngwa tā chā dhī, dhī sāngye hāku wā mē, dhī mō sāngye ngī rī kā rī dhī, tā tā rā mā tā dhī tōk sāngye dhī sāngye hāku wā mā rī, tāng rā mā dhī yōng dhī chūng rā tā rā tā, yē wī shī nī dhī, dhī chūng dhī, dhī rā mā dhī ngā wī yōng rā dhā nī, dhī dhī chūng dhū kā sō rī sē, Chipati tende oi oi sembra un video di la sembra sale sa gemi la sente segni so perché to carga te pa to na onda ya lo tiene in giusto dite wang che sta so di come uno to wang.
So, and these were the four empowerments, and Milarepa also said, so these are related to the four kayas too, and Milarepa said that when all defilements in your mind have become completely exhausted, like isn't there someone who exhausted all of their defilements and then becomes a Buddha in one life? And then that one has connected to the four kayas, the qualities of the four kayas, which are already present within one's own mind. And when one attains enlightenment, then these qualities become manifest. So that is, once one has purified the obscurations of the body and of the speech and of the mind, when the mind has become enlightened, then these qualities emerge, they reveal themselves. Also elsewhere, Milarepa had said, when looking for the Buddha, don't look elsewhere, but look at the quality of your own mind. You won't find a Buddha outside of your own mind. So when the mind is completely pure and clear, that itself is the Buddha in your own mind, and there is no other Buddha. So really, who is that Buddha? For example, this Buddha is demonstrated by the gurus, the various spiritual teachers, and so on. And so, but when we say that the gurus, their mind is really the Buddha and so on, nobody can really understand that. And because people don't really understand that, often they take a quality of a guru and make it a fault. And then they criticize that guru for their faults. And actually, so that's what sentient beings do, because they are controlled by delusions and confusions in their mind. So actually, we should see the quality in such a spiritual teacher's mind. So mainly it is what Milarepa had said. What we need to understand here is that you can't find the Buddha outside of your own mind. When you want to find a Buddha, look at your own mind. And for that, he said, mainly you need to cultivate faith and devotion. This will naturally cause these veils of doubts and obscuration to vanish. So this completes the empowerment of the Buddha Akshobyia. You have received the totally complete empowerment of the deity's form mudra, or the reflection. The four obscurations are purified. The fourth empowerment is completed at once, and you are empowered to engage in infinite activities through visualization, mantra recitation, and samadhi. In the end, we come to the Samaya, and so it says that you should regard the Buddha Akshobyia as your protector and never waver from visualizing the deity, reciting the mantra, and developing samadhi. And so there is a specific Samaya in each empowerment, which what we call the branch Samayas. And for example, in each sadhana, it says you have to practice this specific deity as your yidam until attaining enlightenment. So you're taking this commitment, you're vowing, you're promising to do the practice of that deity. So an ordinary person will take that literal and think that, then there is no end to practice really, because how can we practice every single deity from whom we have received an empowerment? But this is not how it is. Don't think of it in this way. But what you need to understand is that within one deity and within one mantra, all the deities and mantras are included, because it is said that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So therefore, if you just practice a single deity and you recite a single mantra on the outer level, it is sufficient. On the inner level, you should realize the view, the natural state of the mind, and sustain that without distraction, meaning that you continuously rest within the unfabricated natural state of the mind. we can say this is the ultimate samaya. It is to be mindful and undistracted throughout day and night, all the time. That is the ultimate samaya. So it is to meditate. It is mindfulness. The samaya on the relative level is love that needs to be protected by patience. So that's the ultimate and the relative samaya, or we can say there is basically three samayas. Love, first and foremost love, then patience, then mindfulness. These three really are like your life vein, your life artery. These are the most important samayas, your ultimate samayas that you should keep. So therefore, remember them, keep them in mind. And so whether or not you actually make an open declaration of committing or promising to take this samaya, it makes no big difference, because even if you openly declared I'm taking this samaya, if you don't really keep it, it's completely useless. And also likewise, if you never take a samaya at all, and if you don't practice love and patience and so on, it's still your own detriment. So it is something you take, a promise you take to yourself, and something where you take your own mind as a witness. And therefore, when you transgress it, it's only you who will be disadvantaged from that transgression. So that completes the empowerment Dharma friends and Tashi Delek.
Mashi Badari Mayas of Giaraku during that according to the Tapseki, so some wanker. Some Maja Badari Mayas of Giaraku, the Trishi Bang Party Tadachi, I can see Chucho Mind Pacheri or three.
And now, since I'm the one who has given you the empowerment, it's really mainly myself. I have to keep samaya. And so what's my samaya to keep? Like it is said in the prayer, until I die, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. This to me means that I will spin my prayer wheel. And in this way, also through the prayer wheel, confer empowerment to you. And then it says, until enlightenment, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. And that to me means that I will never be distracted. I will sustain an ongoing state of mindfulness. Throughout the 6 periods of day and night, I try to never be distracted. So until I attain enlightenment, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue means I will practice mindfulness. And the essence of mindfulness is Hung. And that's why we have it on t-shirts, like I'm wearing it close to my body. So I never forget about the Hung. So mindfulness, the essence of mindfulness is the Hung.
Kama, bye, Lola.
Thank you very much, Garchen Rinpoche. Thank you.
Internet ist instabil. Thank you.
So Khenpo Tenzin will be giving the lung transmission for the Akshobyia Buddha sadhana, and there have been requests for 2 different lungs to be given. So that will happen momentarily.
Die haben das Mikro nicht an.
Oh, yes. Okay, dear Dharma friends, there are two kinds of sadhana. One is Chami Rinpoche. I can give that long, and another sadhana inside as long Dharani Mantara. That part I can give. There's some. This sadhana is seems new. Writing by Kimpo Minso, so I have to check in my list. Okay. Tangke tuji shajir sunron shinjama tuji ponjom basir jalomba tagraji baka shakchi jarba jalang kuzan tsara turje chanje tilo naro tang mapamala chuje gambo ba pamodru pa javandukong Kajyo lama namje dajyon she danandana tsira tamje da lama labal daya jisuzon lason yonden jamtsang ala Tengde donjen de begale zor tenjen zawa lama chije kuzon toje zenlan da dage julan bende dage timba dan semje jeton jachim bandra parasin jelabda sor Drupang Dorani Chumdi Madroba Tuga Chalon Sembezo Langputala Jobragum to Karada Ten Hong Ten Tar Zung Jie Yesokoa Le was renting Garam Jube Tsinde Todan Rokun Che Leche Dripa Tamjene Palmer Nirzer Po Targom Namo Renataya ya Om Kangane Rozane Trojane Trasane Radana Sarva Kama Parambara Neme Sawa Sato Nenza Sovaraga Aragejarwa yeah, this actually same order. Namornadaya Ganga Rosa Jordan Raza Tatan Sawa Karma Parampara Neme Sawasato Nenzai So Sunamdaya Tamje Zawanya Tawanya Bertana Pazena Jagana Jabalang Drawai Subun Zolan Duadro Varajo and Jambarba Jada Jambada Kunda Zambode and the Yunda Teda Kunja Jiza Dallas Givan the Tamjera of the Ngo to Sunji Bejava Tam Jejungo Galanjo the Ngapa the Dagagu Zavan the Kunja Zambo Juzar of the Ngo Varaja Pamasim Jintan Jeted and the Church Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Khenpo
you.
Tenzin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will see each other tomorrow for the Sakama prayer teachings, and it will be Arizona time, 9 a.m. and time in Germany, 6 p.m. So we wish you a very nice day or evening, and we will see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Beenden?
Warte mal, warte mal.
Oder? Ja. Ja?
Warte.
Doch, er wartet ja
Ja,
drauf.
okay.
Oder?
Er will noch was sagen, glaube ich.
Mhm.
Doch, er will noch was.
Sie. Was mache ich?
Nein.